Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a video on series that I need to finish. Okay, I feel like we all know, we all start series, okay? We all just we're so excited about this series, and then, you know, we already have like a pile of books we need to get to, and then we get distracted by them, and then we read other series, and then it's a year. And then you're like, well, do I reread it? Should I just give up on this series? But I really do need to finish this series because I really enjoyed it. You get where I'm going with this. Essentially, there's a lot of series that I start and I don't finish, and it's bad. It is bad, I'm aware. It's not as bad as some other people I've seen, but that doesn't excuse it. So I do like reading series. I do tend to finish series I start if I like the first book, but sometimes it just takes a while. And I'm just gonna get into a stack of books that I need to finish the series of. Most of them I've only read the first book, but some of them I've read multiple books and just haven't picked up the third or the fourth or whatever. So yeah, let's just get into it. The first series and book we have to talk about is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan. Basically, this book, I actually read it not that long ago, like maybe 2 weeks ago, so this isn't as bad as a lot of the books on this list. So I haven't expected to finish this series. But basically, this is a series about following Lay, who is part of this magical world where there are 3 castes, the paper caste, the moon caste, and the steel caste, which is variations from human to demon, and then I think it's the steel caste, which is the one in between. And basically, Lay gets taken to this palace, to the palace of the king, to become a paper girl, essentially to do things with the king, if you know what I mean, for his own enjoyment. And it deals with a lot of difficult topics, obviously like sexual assault and all these kind of things. And also there is a sapphic relationship in here, and it's kind of like a soft fantasy, I'd say. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it like 4 stars. And there is a second one. I can't remember what it's called, but there is a second one, and the author's writing a third one, I think. So I do definitely want to read the second one, and that is like definitely a priority, but I just haven't got around to it yet. Okay, we've started off with a good one. You know, 2 weeks ago. That's okay. Frostblood by Ellie Blake. I think I read this, optimistically, I'm going to say 6 months ago. Pessimistically, I'm going to say a year ago. Somewhere around then. Basically, this follows Ruby, who's a fireblood. The kingdom that she lives in is ruled by frostbloods, and I can't remember how you can tell the difference between them, but you can. And essentially, the frostblood soldiers raid her village and find out that she's a fireblood, and take her to the palace, and goes into this frost court thing, and befriends this warrior, and they start trying to escape and all this kind of thing. I've forgotten virtually every detail about this book, so I did enjoy it. I think it was like a 4-star read, and I do want to read the second book, but also I think, is it even worth it, because I you know what I mean? Like, I can't remember anything, and I don't necessarily want to reread it. So, but I do want to finish it. I think this is a trilogy. I think so. I don't know. So yeah, that's that on that one. Next is Everless by Sarah Holland. I'm gonna say I read this book maybe a year, 18 months, 2 years, I don't know, somewhere between a year and 2 years ago. This book, I think, was a 5-star read. I really, really enjoyed this book, and it is a duology, and I do actually remember quite a lot from this book. Not like a whole lot, but I do actually think about it time to time. Like, it is something that like has actually actively like stayed in my mind. So I think that's a good sign, considering I read it like a few years ago. So the more I think about it, the more I actually really do need to prioritize this, as like I do need to get the second one. But yeah, it's basically around this basically your blood is time, and your time is monetized, which is really interesting. So basically, you know, if you're really poor and you need more money, you can get some blood withdrawn, and that takes away however many years of your life, and then you get some money. And the sort of nobility in this world live kind of seemingly forever because they can just drink the blood of loads of poorer people who need the money. And so it's this really interesting dynamic of poor people live really, really short lives, and the rich people live almost indefinitely. And it's a really interesting class dynamic, and there were some really good twists in here, so I would actually really recommend this book, and I really do need to get on the second book. Next series is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This is one I'm slightly on the fence about because I read this month, I think, or maybe last month. I read it like not that long ago. And basically this follows Alice, who Alice's grandmother wrote this book of fairy tales, which just kind of has a small cult following around it, who are really interested in the fairy tales, but they're quite rare. There's not that many books like actually printed, but they do have this kind of weird following. And Alice's mother disappears, and she teams up with this boy to find her, and it's like magical realism, and that some people from these fairy tales find Alice, and she gets embroiled in this whole world. And I really did like it. This is a 4-star read. I think the second one's called The Night Country. I think it's a trilogy, but I think there's only 2 out. So yeah, I am interested in continuing because this is 4-star read. I am interested in the story, but I also think this kind of works as a standalone. Like, I know it's not, but it had a satisfying ending, and The Night Country doesn't have very good ratings on Goodreads, and so I'm a little bit on the fence as to whether I want to finish the series, but I'm like open to it, definitely. Next series is the Queen of Hearts series by Colleen Oakes. I actually don't know what the third book is called, but I've added it to my want to read list. But basically this is an Alice in Wonderland retelling. Well, not really. It's in the Alice in Wonderland world, but it's basically the Queen of Hearts origin story. And I know there are a lot of books like Heartless by Marissa Meyer and all this kind of, and just loads that have sort of covered this concept. It's not really an original concept, but I think it covers the Queen of Hearts story brilliantly, and the world is just so vibrant and really interesting, and the sort of political, it's quite political actually, and I just really like the series, and not that many people have heard of it, so I'm super excited to like finish it. But I think I read this series maybe a year ago, so yeah, I can still sort of vaguely remember things from it, so you know, I do want to read it, but also I don't know how much I'd remember. But I mean, here we are, I do want to finish it. Next series is Warcross by Mary Lou. I did want to just quickly include it in this video just because it fits in with the video, but I am currently reading Wildcard, which is the sequel. This is a duology, so these are the only books in the series. And I loved this one. I did originally rate it a 4-star, but I've thought about it so much since I've read it that I think I might like retrospectively up it to a 5-star. And so far I'm really enjoying this book. So I did read Legend by Mary Lou, and I gave it 3 stars. I didn't really like it that much. Well, it was okay. But I do really enjoy this series. So I'm actively, you know, working on this one. And final one we have to talk about, which I thought again I'd just throw in at the end because it's kind of not relevant, but we're gonna put it anyway, is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. Essentially, this is a duology. I rated this book 5 stars, but the second book in the duology isn't out yet, so it's not really kind of supposed to be in this video because, you know, I mean, it's not my fault that I haven't picked up the second one, and I did only read this like 2 weeks ago, but I loved it, and I'm so pumped for the sequel. I think it's coming out next year, and oh my god, I'm literally so excited. These, oh my god, okay, I'm gonna put them down. Those are all the books that I need to catch up on, and all the series I need to catch up on. Please feel free to comment, like, the series you need to catch up on, what you thought of these series, whether the sequels were as good as the first ones. Just let me know, I'm really interested. And comment a heart emoji if you've reached this point in the video, because like, thank you so much. Yeah, so please like, comment and subscribe. My Instagram, podcast and Twitter will be linked down below. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.